participants. I am Simon Tyoakosu, PhD holder in Accounting and Finance, the Department of Procurement Management, Cyprus. I will be taking you in price and cost analysis, the Track B certificate courses that we're doing in procurement this morning. This course is a module that covers basically 6 aspects. The introductory aspect, it also considers the elements of costs with respect to construction works. It looks at the steps that are used in preparation of cost estimates. It also goes to look at the techniques used in estimating costs, as well as price adjustment procedures and bid evaluation methods that are applied in the course of procurement activities. Then the cost overview, the objectives are stated in line with the 6 cost outline that we gave you. The expectation from us at the end of this course is for us to be able to state how one can be able to develop accurate cost estimates in the course of a procurement contract, as well as we should be able to list the various cost structure elements, the various elements that make up a cost structure. Then we should be able to state the preparation of the cost estimates and the type of professionals that are required to prepare cost estimates, as well as the underlying reasons for price adjustments in contract. Then the demonstration, we should be able to demonstrate how the methods of bid evaluation are done with respect to procurement of goods. What is price analysis? Actually, in procurement, one is expected to be able to have a good knowledge of what price is, for him to be able to negotiate very well and be able to have value in the course of negotiation in his procurement activities. So when you talk of price analysis, it looks at the method of one trying to consider the price to decide if the price that you are giving the product or a service is reasonable, and you're able to get value for your services or value for the product or not. You can look at consideration of various comparison of various suppliers in the market. You can look at historical prices, as well as compare different products in the market. Various prices will tell you that. Cost analysis basically looks at the different elements that constitute the final price of a product. For each product that you have, it may go through manufacturing stages, it may go through refurbishment, and for each of these stages that is going, it has different elements that make up the costs. So when you're looking at cost analysis, you want to pick the individual elements that at the end of the day will be able to make you to determine the costs of the product, so that you can be able to decide the overall price that you can quote for that product or service in the market, that you'll be able to get value for what you have actually put in, even as a procurement officer. So the expectation is at the end of this course, cost estimation is taken as a critical step in the procurement process that will help one to be able to have a procurement plan that you or yourself has had knowledge of what is obtainable in the marketplace, so that in approaching the market, you already have an idea of what the price is, what are the cost elements, for you to be better placed in the course of your negotiation with the persons you are going to meet in the market there or in the contract. So the government, United Nations Government Accountability Office defines cost estimates, as well as the American Association of Civil Engineers divide all of this. The details are for us to look at in the notes. The second aspect of this course is looking at what are the elements, different cost elements that are considered in construction contract. Basically, when you talk of elements of costs, they are basically direct and indirect cost elements. The direct cost elements are those that can be traceable to a particular product or to a particular service, while the indirect ones may not easily directly be related or can be traceable to a particular cost element. So those ones that are known as direct costs that can be traced to a particular cost element, most times they include wages that are paid for laborers. You look at materials, you look at equipment that are used for the production of those services or products as the case may be. The indirect ones cannot be associated with specific cost elements. For instance, the issue of security. If we have a security in an organization stationed in another organization, they are securing the entire organization. But if you look at a particular product that is being produced by that organization, you may hardly get the exact amount you should be able to apportion to the security that are also overseeing the activities of that organization at the end of the day. Another one may be the management or administrative expenses that are incurred that are overall for the benefit of the organization rather than a particular product or service that are there. So these are the elements. And these elements, in arriving at the estimate, particularly for construction works, one would look at the internal cost of an organization. That organization that is trying to procure, what would be the internal costs that they have to allocate for a construction project? The law stipulates that it should not be beyond 10%, between 5 to 10% of the overall project cost. Then for site investigations, these are the individual elements of cost construction, cost elements, these are individual cost elements in construction works. And we have discussed the issue of the procuring entity's own internal costs, then site investigations. Before you carry out procurement on a particular site, you also need to go do an investigation on that site. And this is frequently underrated by most persons that go into procurement. But you expect that between 1 and 2% of the project costs will be tied to this. The construction licenses, as well as issues of soil, insurances, land acquisition, as well as legal fees, consultants that will help you to design the facility you want to bring up, or even look at the work throughout the period for purpose of supervision, as well as construction costs. The expectation is the construction cost should be between 70 to 80% of the entire project cost. Then the tax, value added tax, will also have to be added to it. Contingencies and risk, financing and legal costs, all of these have the exact range of value that is expected to come from the planner, the procurement officer of the organization. The next aspect we're looking at is preparation of cost estimation. How do we prepare cost estimates? Why a vast majority of procuring entities, particularly in the developing nations, sometimes give this out with respect to construction companies. Other organizations may have a team within them to be able to try to put together, because it's a difficult task for one to bring down every element that you have to foresee what will constitute the cost at the end of a particular project. You have to bring that together. So the cost estimation, the expectation is you have different team members that have diverse knowledge and skills in the various aspects that will be able to carry this assignment out diligently. You need to have people that are very vast in forecasting, those that are financial experts. You have engineers, and you also be able to have those in logistics, scheduling, amongst others. Then, of all, there must be good mathematicians in the team that will be able to put 1 and 2 together to tell you the overall cost of a particular project, that you can be able to forecast and expect that within the time frame you'll be able to come out with your project detailed. The overall team lead for that project or for this team should be one who is knowledgeable and have experience in the subject area. If it's a construction, the team leader should have experience in construction works. If it's a service industry, it should have experience in that area so that you'll be able to come up clearly with what is expected in that. The steps that are expected for them to undergo is to determine the estimate purpose. For what purpose are we putting this estimate together? Then they were able to develop estimation plan. How are they going to design or plan the activities from beginning to end that will come out with the cost estimates? They will define the program features. What are the specifications of the project from inception to finish? Because these costs will be tied to the individual cost estimation specifications that are there. Determine the estimating structure, as well as you identify the rules that will govern that what you are doing. Then you have to go out to obtain data. Most times that's where this team will have to go to the market, look at data statistics that are available by the Bureau of Bureau of Statistics and every other organization that has these statistics. That would aid them in preparing the cost estimates. Development of development and comparison of the independent estimates. When you finish developing, you have to compare that to know that they are ideal estimates. You have to conduct sensitivity analysis so that if there are expected changes, how sensitive are these estimates to the changes that are expected, whether within the economy or the present situation as it may be. Risk and uncertainty analysis. You have to do documentation. Then you present the estimate for the purpose of approval by management of the organization before it comes up to for usage. And these estimates must be one that will reflect what is expected so that the firm will have value for money. Features that are expected to be met with respect to drawing out estimates that will serve cost estimates that will serve the purpose of organization should be that it should be accurate. There should be confidence level that is given within a range. You don't just indicate that it's this value. You can give a range of values that are expected in trying to come up with cost estimates. It should be credible, well documented at each stage, as well as it should be reliable. At any point in time, one can get this data and work with. You should give the details of the risk that are there. It should be uniform, as well as should be valid, and one should be verified at any point in time. So many mistakes that organizations make with respect to cost estimates are what we have here as the pitfalls that are frequently encountered by these professionals. One of them is lack of comprehensive mix of expertise. We have told ourselves that in the team of those that will do the cost estimates, you must have different professionals. It's difficult for you to be carrying out an engineering project and the engineers you have there will not be a reasonable number, or will not have the expertise that's required, or you will not even have engineers at all on your team. You must be able to have accountants that will be able to deal with these figures, both of calculations and computations. You must be able to have financial experts, different experts that are needed. You can't be carrying out an environmental project without having environmental specialists, forest specialists, as the case may be, or even the social standards as well. Length of the planning horizon. You should plan ahead to know that from now to this time, this is the time you need to do your planning, as well as when you expected to have this data available for the management to take their decisions. You not fully understanding the work involved. Most times, one of the challenges we have is the work involved. The people putting these statistics together may not understand exactly what is involved, and at the end of the day, they do estimates that will not stand the test of time. That is certainly not expected in professionals that we are trying to be. They're expecting that resources will work at maximum productivity at all times. Most times, the resources we have will not be able to meet what is expected, and it is expected that we give a range of expectation rather than having definite values that we work with. Failing to identify risk that you use to prepare for that, creating inaccuracies in your estimates, setting estimates as fixed sums rather than having them in ranges, then making project fit to a given budget amount. When you have that, you should be able to have a range that you work with rather than having specifics. Then cost estimation techniques. What are the techniques that are used in estimating costs? The expectation is the procurement entity should have sufficient information based on what they are expecting to go out in the market before they will carry out a particular project. They should not just get up and say, this is what we want to have. Adequate information that will aid you, and that information will help you to know which technique that you are going to employ to be able to come out with accurate estimates that will give you what you want. There are basically three estimation techniques that we have. We have the top-down estimation techniques, we have a bottom-up estimation technique, as well as the parametric estimating techniques. These parametric estimating techniques deals more with historical data, while the top-down estimating technique is the one that is built from archives. Already information you had kept in your archives, you use them to be able to build that. Then bottom-up estimation techniques is where you have a complete work breakdown structure. Whatever work you have, you know that this is what is expected from stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 before you are able to carry out the work. Once you have that complete breakdown of work structure, you can be able to apportion costs in those elements. So these are the three basic cost estimation techniques, and the details are there for us to read and understand. Then the fifth aspect of our course or this module is to look at the price adjustment procedures in small and large construction works. Actually, even though as procurement officers, you look at cost analysis, you look at price estimates, but at the end of the day, there's every need that situations may arise that will make one to know that or to see that whatever estimates you gave are no longer realistic, probably due to inflation, deflation, or whatever the situation that may have arisen from the economy. So there's every need that price adjustment is prepared ahead of time with the expectation that any day they could be unforeseen. For instance, particularly in our economy in Nigeria here, you can recall that there are no, in fact, it's difficult for you to predict when certain goods, products, prices rise. One of the major products that we use efficiently, very well in almost every project we carry out in Nigeria is petroleum products. And you can attest to the fact that most times these petroleum products, the prices skyrocket within a short while. So there's every need for us in every procurement process to make provision for what? Price adjustments. So that in an event that comes up, the budget that we have can easily, conveniently accommodate this adjustment, so that the project we are carrying out, the procurement process, will come out to give us value for money, and we're able to get quality in what we are doing, rather than giving us products that are not quality. So the expectation here is that there may be price escalations where the prices will go up. In few cases, prices could come down. But the issue of price adjustment is not just for the purpose of the procuring entity. It helps both the procuring entity and the contractor as well. If there are upward movement, certainly what was initially budgeted for may not be able to cater for that. But if there were price adjustments that were made earlier, with the hope that this can be accommodated, the value that the procuring entity expects to get from that product will still be gotten, because that provision was there, they can accommodate it. Those changes will be accommodated. But if the provision was not made initially, it will become difficult for the changes to be accommodated. Whatever they may do would be that, okay, let's reduce the quality to come up with the product at the end of the day. And the procuring entity will not be able to get value for the cost of the entire project that they are carrying out. So that is the reason that this is done. We are saying that there should be every need to plan ahead in executing our contracts or our procurement procedures. The standard bidding documents of the multilateral development banks also provide for price adjustments mechanism in contracts, particularly for works that are up to a year and a half, 18 months. Any contract that goes up to 18 months, the standard bidding documents make provision that they should make adequate arrangement or provisions ahead of time for purpose of price adjustments that may arise from there. Even the price of some components may still vary significantly, even within a very short time, within 18 months. Take for instance, in Nigeria, I made mention of petroleum products. You are using fuel as a major product in executing a particular project. Within the last 18 months, I want to believe that the price of fuel within the country has risen more than twice or thrice. The expectation is if that was not taken care of in the course of preparing for a budget for a particular procurement process that was done before now, it means it becomes a difficult task for the project to be executed with ease. So the issue of price adjustment is very key, that particularly when you see that products that you are using have variation in their prices which will significantly affect the service that we got in from that product. The way the price of such components fluctuates over short periods of time, it is also appropriate to include them in what? Price adjustment. You make provision of price adjustment in the cost of having the budget for the procurement process. So this price adjustment in construction industry is based upon the fact that the bid price that is submitted by the bidder in response to a particular procurement invitation should be relevant for a particular point in time. Once that time changes, you have to make provision for the change that may be coming with, that can be able to accommodate whatever unforeseen that could arise from that, those variations that are coming there. So we are telling you that, particularly for purpose of inflation and ever-changing relationship between supply and demand, the issue of price adjustment is very key. In our procurement processes, we should be able to make provision for price adjustments in the course of carrying out procurement processes. The driver for price increases is primarily related to what? Supply capacity relative to demand with respect to inflation. And the purpose of inflation, once you read through the notes, you will come to understand that where basically too much money is chasing too few goods is what makes we define as inflation. So please, I will also suggest that you read most of this on your own. The notes are available. You read them and understand details of this. So these are the conditions that apply with respect to price adjustments, which we've discussed in detail. The last aspects of this course, which is last session, is looking at bid evaluation methods. What methods do organizations use when they want to achieve value for money in the course of carrying out their procurement processes? Basically, there are four methods. Four methods are used. The first is cheapest price. Next is lowest evaluated cost, merit point system, or which is also known as rated criteria, and life cycle costing methodology. These are used basically for procurement of goods. These are used basically for procurement of goods, and the conditions for the use of each of these is also spread out clearly. Because for cheapest price, basically where you know that the call for tenders prescribed that evaluation criteria is going to be basically on meeting technical specifications, the minimum technical specifications. That is where the cheapest price method is used. Where, again, they give a range of technical specifications that can be met, meaning that if the minimum is given, you could meet above, and that will be rewarded. You use lowest evaluated cost method because you now evaluate each of the presentations that are made before you. So at the end of the day, you now come with the one that will give best value for money. The merit point system, which is also known as rated criteria. Here, what emphasis here is on quality. If the service, the works, or the goods to be provided, you are looking at the quality now. It's not just to meet just minimum standard. You are looking at quality. Once you bring in quality attributes into specifications, it means that using this merit point system will give you the best, because you have to rate each presentation that the contractor is bringing up that I will render this service given this and that and that. By the time you rate them, you now come up with the best that will give you value for money. The last evaluation method that we're to use, or that is there in literature, basically for us to understand, is life cycle costing methodology. Life cycle costing methodology. What this emphasizes is, if the product or service is one that will have useful life to you, don't just look at the value of that cost at that point in time. Consider both the ins and outs from that product or service, as the case may be, throughout the entire life cycle of that product. For instance, I keep asking or giving this simple example to my participants. With respect to products, vehicles, for instance, most organizations, or even as individuals, if I ask the class how many of us have vehicles, majority of you will say yes, you have vehicles. If I then ask how many of us are using a particular product, let me use example of Honda and Toyota. Most of us will say yes, our product, the one we have that is better for us, is Toyota. Others will say it's Honda. But in realistic terms, the value of the cost or price of a Honda presently will be far less than Toyota. The same model, the same everything, the cost for Honda will be less. But within the time frame that, let's say the life cycle of the vehicle is 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, as the case may be. If you bought a Toyota vehicle with a higher value, given the amount you are going to put in for purpose of maintenance, compared to someone else that is using a Honda that bought at a cheaper value, but probably because of the value of maintenance for Honda becomes higher, at the long run, the person with Honda would have spent far higher than the person with what? The Toyota. Looking at both advantages and disadvantages that are coming from this. So typically, this is where the issues of life cycle costing methodology is applied with such products, where you know that you can be able to place value on the entire life cycle of the product. Another thing we need to know is there are steps that are carried out, are employed in the course of evaluating the bids that are submitted to the procuring entity. And in evaluating these steps have to do with preliminary examination, where you look at the document face to face and look at, did it actually meet the time frame that you had set for the submission of bids, or it did not meet. They were supposed to submit in a particular office. Was it submitted at that? That's just normal preliminary investigations or examination that will be done. Detailed technical evaluation. What are the technical specifications that were supposed to be met? The specification they have submitted, what they have submitted, did it actually meet the specifications that were spread out ab initio? Then the announcement of the results of the technical evaluation. There are some procurements that the technical evaluation are done different from the financial evaluation. If you do the technical evaluation before the technical evaluation, means you after getting the technical evaluation result, you now publish that and give a time frame for the contractors or the would-be contractors to raise their complaints, which we call standstill period. But in an event that you are combining both technical and financial scores, it means that you only have one standstill period. Then for post-qualification of the bidder, after you had selected the bidder through the evaluation process and come up with one bidder that you have agreed that you are giving the contract to, that because of this and that, he's the best that will give value for money in that contract. You now say, okay, you want to check if this person is still qualified. Those criteria that he met, that you are now awarding the contract to him, you still verify, is it still up to date, meeting those criteria? Some organizations might have gone bankrupt within the time frame that the evaluation is taking place. You have to do all of that to check and be sure before the contract is awarded. Then you now finally announce your intent as a procuring entity to award the contract to a specific contractor. After that, you also give a time frame which is between 7 to 10 days, known as standstill period, for any of the aggrieved participants or anybody who wants to protest the process to come up to lay his complaint before you can be able to award the contract to that contractor that you have agreed and picked as the person for that, or the contractor you are going to award that contract. I encourage all of us to read through the notes. More details will be provided for you to take adequacy with respect to deep knowledge in understanding of why it is important for us as procurement officers, for us as procuring entities, as well as contractors, to be able to do a price and cost analysis ahead of a procurement process, so that we can come up with what will give us value for our money in the course of procurement processes. Thank you so much for your attention.